Alex just had a really funny suggestion, which was to change the name of the podcast vlog to Fuzzball Parade, which is the name of the license-free music that we use for our theme song. So. Hey Fiber friends! It's Gina Rockenwagner coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. And this is our somewhat weekly catch up on everything I'm making and doing in the fiber world and the cooking world. I make a lot of stuff. I think it's best to just call it about making because I'm making things in all different mediums and I never want to limit myself. So we're talking about what I'm making. I've been on a little bit of a break. I feel like I've been everywhere in the last month. We did craft fairs in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and then right after that I went to Peru to work on some videos for Nomad, the Barra yarn company that I work with. And then I came back and it was Christmas, which was super fun. And after that we went to Baltimore to visit Alex's family for a couple of days. And then we came back and we hosted 3 different events, people, parties, families in 1 week. And now just getting back into the swing of things post holidays, and it feels really good to be in the new year. It feels like a fresh slate. I'm working on some exciting projects, so let's talk about them. I baked some really fun things over the break. One of which was some tricolor cookies. In New York, you see them in bakeries a lot. They're called rainbow cookies sometimes. They're like an almond sponge cake that's 3 different colors, and in between the layers you have apricot jam, and on the top and bottom you have semi-sweet chocolate. So I used a recipe from Smitten Kitchen to make these, and they came out incredible. In fact, there's still some in my fridge and they've held up super well. I made them right before Christmas, so I definitely want to make those again next year. They're a little bit labor intensive, but the outcome is really worth it and gratifying, and yeah, everybody loved them. So I'm definitely going to make those next year. Another thing that I made, which I've always wanted to make, I've been saying for like the last 3 years that I want to make bûche de Noël, which is like a Yule log. It's a chocolate sponge cake and it's rolled around whipped cream, and then on the outside I put a chocolate buttercream. I used a recipe from Bon Appetit, and I can link to it in the show notes. It was a good recipe. I didn't use the frosting that they suggested, and I just did whipped cream, sweetened whipped cream for the filling. I garnished it with some meringue mushrooms, which was really fun because my grandfather is really allergic to mushrooms, like deathly allergic, but he can eat these mushrooms because they're made out of eggs, so I thought that was a really funny thing, and my grandma also was making jokes about it, so that was really fun. And the bûche de Noël got totally devoured, so there's none of it left, obviously. And then the last thing that I made that I want to talk about is I made this pie that I saw this pie on the menu at Birdie G's in LA, and we ate there right before New Year's. And I saw this pie on the menu and I saw pictures of it online and I thought it looked amazing, but I didn't end up trying it when we went there because it turns out that it's rose flavored, and I don't like rose flavoring, so I thought, well, I can look at pictures and maybe try to duplicate it myself for our New Year's Day party. I had noticed a recipe for cheesecake on the back of the gelatin box. So I used that as the base for the pie, and then inside of it I put 3 different flavors of Jell-O, like made up and then cut up to be kind of like the flecks. It kind of looks like confetti when you cut into it, or like terrazzo tile. It's really cool. So since I kind of like assembled it from different like recipes that I pieced together, I think I would really love to make it again and then make a recipe for it so that other people can make it. It tasted like those strawberry shortcake ice cream bars. So I mean, I really loved it. I was super into it. I was really happy with how it tasted. I made it like a completely different flavor because I didn't want to make it rose flavored. So that's what I worked on cooking wise. Really fun. Something I like definitely enjoy a ton, and the holidays are a great excuse to bake stuff. Another thing that I did that was holiday related was my sewing project that I'm going to talk about this week that's almost finished. It is a wall hanging for my sister, and Alex will cut in some video that he shot of me working on the wall hanging. It's not quite finished, but next week I can probably show it to you finished. It's a little bit of like a landscapey inspired piece with tassels and like a bunch of different textures and different embroidery techniques to kind of like make it feel like rolling hills. I'm really happy with how it came out, and it hangs by a dowel at the top, so it looks really like clean and nice, and I think she's gonna hang it over her bed, so I'll show it to you when it's finished. Super fun project. In the realm of knitting, I have been working on pretty much exclusively on this cardigan. I just got to the point where I connected the sleeves to the body, and now it's finally starting to look like something. It's gonna have pockets in the front. It's made from 3 different yarns stranded together. I've talked about this on the podcast before. It wasn't looking like much for a while, and now it's finally starting to look like something, and super exciting. So I can't wait to have it finished. It's gonna be difficult to pick buttons. I think probably later this week I'll go to this store that I like to buy buttons at and see if they have something that would work. Yeah, I think it has to be like a very particular button. If I don't find one there, I can use some clear buttons. I think that would be nice. I just kind of default to the clear buttons on my cardigans when I don't know what to do, because it goes with everything and it just kind of like fades. It doesn't become like the focal point. And with something that's so like got so much going on, this has like a gradient and sparkle and a stitch. I don't want the buttons to like add too much to it. So yeah, you always want to like kind of be not putting, 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack, as you might say, but you might use something more crude in place of potatoes. If you aren't trying to be, family friendly and appealing like I am right now. So let's talk about dyeing. I've been dyeing with a lot of the new Nomad bases because I work with Nomad on their marketing, and it's been so fun to get into dyeing. I'm like super enjoying it, and I was already like ice dyeing things constantly, as you can see. I was really into dyeing fabric, and I had done a little bit of yarn dyeing, but now that I'm working with Nomad, I am getting the opportunity to dye much more stuff, and it's just been so dang fun. I'm having the time of my life dyeing. I think it's so fun. I'm floating the idea of doing a little pre-order for some dyed yarn. So if you would be interested in buying anything, let me know which colors you're interested in. Maybe if I get enough interest, they might push me over the edge of Temptation Island and into Temptation Ocean, and I will dye the yarn and sell it. So let's talk about what I've been dyeing. I'm so into speckles, and I've been working on getting the speckles like really defined and sharp, and this is like it's kind of an earlier attempt, and the colors got a little more blendy, but I still love this yarn, and I'm definitely gonna make a sweater out of it. I have more skeins, obviously, than these two. And this is the base Stratus from Nomad. It's 100% merino wool and a superwash, and it's just so soft and lovely. I can't wait to make a sweater out of this. And then also on Stratus, I dyed this super fun purple, which is one of my favorite colors. And it has like some hints of some like red, and there's places where like the purple's super intense and then more faded. It just has like a nice variegation to the yarn that I'm so into. I think I might make this into a piano cardigan with another color that I dyed. I made a swatch, so I should post that soon. I also dyed this yarn. This base is called Steam, and this one I was a little more successful in making the speckles really sharp and clear, and not so blendy. This yarn is 80% merino wool and 20% baby alpaca, and it has a really lovely texture that I am so into. It's a little bit hard to pick an appropriate stitch to knit with because I noticed that it doesn't look good in every stitch, in my opinion at least. Like I was working 1x1 rib in this stitch, and in this yarn, and I really didn't like it. But then I worked another little like slip stitch that I really liked in it. I can show you the swatch also next week, I think. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I've been working on. Super getting into dyeing, if I haven't said that enough already. I just wanted to kind of keep this short and sweet because yeah, who wants to like sit and listen to me talk for half an hour about what I'm making? If you do, let me know. We could set up another time to do that, but yeah, I figure it's better to be like consistent and show up and do the videos, even if they're not super long, because yeah, I think it's better to like update you guys more frequently than to like put so much pressure on myself to make super long videos. What else is there to talk about for 2020? Oh, I'm doing an artist residency with Thread Caravan for the month of June, which is super exciting. I'm already starting to think about what I'm gonna work on during the residency, and I'm really leaning into making more wall hangings and maybe making them inspired by the landscape in Mexico or Oaxaca, because I'll be there for a month, so it's a perfect opportunity to really get inspired by the landscape and perhaps use some dye stuff to make natural dyes that can go into these pieces. And I've kind of been calling them arpilleras because to me they're working in that tradition, and arpilleras always have an activist component to them, or well, typically they do, not always, but sometimes. And in my mind, it's activism to kind of capture these landscapes while we still have them, because climate change really threatens our planet that we know and love and call home. So I want to make arpilleras representing these landscapes to kind of pay homage to those landscapes. So yeah, so I'm going on this artist residency with Thread Caravan in June. Can't wait. I think we're gonna have an exhibition of our work afterwards. And that's really what's on the docket for 2020 for me. So I will talk to you again soon. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.